There's an aspect that I do like when it comes to the internet computer. Now, nothing I say is financial advice, but what is the aspect that I do like? Because it's clearly not the price as of right now. It's around $4, so it's not doing the best. But I'm saying when it comes to the fundamentals, what I like about it is that supposedly ICP supports multiple programming languages. Why do I find this cool? Well, it's because a developer, let's say, they may have a preference for a certain programming language, right? So it's not just the one thing for all type of vibe sometimes in this case. Like for instance, if we take a look at it, of course, ICP supports Motoko, which is the programming language that, basically was designed by Dfinity. However, even besides that, we have to take a look at the other options. Like for instance, if we take a look at the programming languages supported through canister development kits, like we'll see something like TypeScript, Python, which is, of course is very popular, also C++, which is also very popular in my opinion. We take a look at Solidity, which I think this is pretty cool as well because this allows for EVM, or should I say Ethereum virtual machine based smart contracts. And we also take a look at, for instance, in the case of JavaScript, which is also pretty popular as well. Now, why do I find this pretty cool? Well, it's because if let's say I'm a developer, I may have a preference, right, for a certain programming language, and maybe I'm already well versed in something like that. If let's say some other projects out there don't really support that, it may be a little bit difficult to kind of shift and adjust. Not to say that it's not possible, because a lot of developers that I do see, a lot of programmers, they do kind of make that shift sometimes for certain occasions. However, if they're more familiar, it's going to be a little bit of an easier transition to kind of just, let's say build on a certain project, right? However, even besides that point, why do I find this pretty cool when it comes to ICP? And I think how this kind of hypothetically might open more doors when it comes to the developer side of things. For instance, according to Statista Developer Insights, 57.9% of developers globally use Python. So again, just by ICP, right, having that, or should I say again, Python supported through canister development kits, that right there is just 57.9% of developers. They automatically are able to maybe hypothetically do something when it comes to ICP in my perspective. Not to say that they will, because of course ICP is nowhere near as popular as like even an Ethereum, or let alone like a Solana or something like that. But I'm saying even besides that point, or even a BNB, I should say. However, again, that is pretty cool and pretty interesting when I take a look at that when it comes to the internet computer. Not to mention, according to Statista, yet again, it is alleged that 23.5% of developers globally use C++. So again, that's just kind of harping back to the thing I mentioned before when it comes to Python regarding, ICP and also C++, and how that right there is just kind of opening more sort of hypothetical doors when it comes to ICP in terms of what developers could do when it comes to it. But who knows, only time will tell. Now, when I take a look at this, it is an aspect that I do like, because if I take a look at some other projects out there, they're like, oh, we only want to do this, and then that's kind of it. Where's the longevity in that? Because if let's say I'm a project developer, or let's say I have like, just a project in general in a make-believe scenario, and then there's this programming language for that, and I'm like, oh, it's only got to be this. If a developer doesn't learn it, then okay, maybe we find another one or something like that. That I don't think is such a good idea in some cases, because especially if a project is still kind of up and coming, it's not really that well known. If it just kind of limits itself like that, I don't know about the longevity when it comes to that. So I do like seeing that when it comes to something like the internet computer, because we have to consider, I just don't think that the internet computer has the best adoption out there. So even with all of this right here, right, that I mentioned before, the adoption still isn't the best. Let alone a project out there that doesn't have all this in terms of the kind of possibilities in terms of the programming language. Imagine the adoption that they might have in some cases. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just feel like when it comes to the internet computer, I just kind of like the forward thinking mindset that Dfinity has, at least in my perspective. Because I get it. The internet computer is not necessarily the most popular project out there of all time, but I just don't think it's that bad in my perspective in terms of kind of the adoption so far. It's not the best, but I don't think it's like the worst either. Now, when I take a look at it, sure, ICP, when it comes to the market cap, people like to say, oh, it's around 2 billion. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, altcoins, generally speaking, are having a pullback. If we take a look at if it's just ICP for whatever reason, if that's the only thing that's having a pullback, then okay, that's a different case. But it doesn't seem like that to me. Now, granted, when it comes to something like Definity, they're still kind of doing things, right? And I don't even know what they're even doing behind the scenes because who knows, they might be planning something. Like, for instance, when they talk about Caffeine AI, self-writing apps platform, when that kind of was announced, did I know that was going to come? Absolutely not. So, when it comes to what they could do moving forward, who knows? Only time will tell. But if there was maybe more exciting things, I just wouldn't be able to know, right? Because I'm not a part of their team. I just don't know what's going to happen when it comes to that. But the thing is, when it comes to Definity, to me at least, the track record shows that they just don't stop when it comes to trying to do things. Because they could easily not care about Caffeine AI, and a lot of people I think wouldn't even really care because even I didn't know what that was, right? Until, of course, I saw what it was. Like, for instance, if there was no Caffeine I highly doubt that there's going to be like thousands upon thousands like saying, oh, we need a self-writing apps platform. I don't have that mindset, right? I don't think I've seen that before when it comes to something like, Definity or the internet computer. But then Definity kind of just did that anyway. So yeah, I find it pretty cool. Now, some people out there like to say, oh, when it comes to the internet computer, they like to say, oh, it's not going to be the best in all this. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think ICP is going to ever overtake like an Ethereum, for instance. But at the same time as well, does it need to be the best? If let's say I run a marathon, do I need to be first place? Well, personally, in my case, not really. Like, I mean, I don't really have to care about that because I don't need to, right? Like, let's say I finish top 10, it's already fine. It's like, for instance, let me just use this example. Is Volvo the number one car brand out there in the world in terms of sales? I don't think so. But does it need to? Well, not really. I mean, take a look at Volvo. It's still thriving. It's still doing its thing. It doesn't need to be number one. Sometimes being top 10, top 20 is already okay in some sectors out there. And we take a look at something like ICP, sure, it is top 40, right, in terms of market cap currently, in terms of size. So it's not that bad, but, does it need to be top 5 or top 10? No, I don't think so. Maybe, arguably, even if let's say there was an altcoin season, but I'm just saying it doesn't need to be like a number one type of thing. Like, let's say I'm a comedian, right? In a make believe scenario. Do I need to be as successful as Kevin Hart? It'd be awesome, but there's only one Kevin Hart. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not that feasible in some cases. So just being like top 10, top 20, top 30, even that's already pretty impressive in some cases. But then again, I'm not a comedian, but I'm just saying. But even besides that, when I take a look at, let's say, the internet computer, people like to tell me, oh, no one's really going to care about this project because ICP historically hasn't even really done much. Well, I mean, I just don't think I've really seen ICP experience a full-on altcoin season because even if we take a look back at it, right? I mean, did ICP really ever experience a kind of quote unquote like altcoin season? Like in the case in which we've seen, something like, let's say, VeChain, Avalanche, or something like that, right? Where they really had that attention during an altcoin season. I haven't seen that when it comes to ICP. And then also on top of that, I don't think I've even seen an altcoin season during this cycle. So even historically, I haven't really seen much when it comes to ICP. It has a big market cap, but it hasn't really had that kind of mainstream attention in my perspective. So I just don't want to give up because, personally for me, it's just kind of the analogy I would use is that, do I want to be friends with John Cena after he's famous or before he's famous? You know what I mean? If I'm friends with John Cena after he's famous, then it's a little bit of a different vibe. But if I'm friends with him back then, it's a little bit of a different vibe as well. Maybe it's more relaxed or something like that. So that's just kind of the analogy that I would use. Now, of course, ICP market cap currently is around like 2 billion, so it's not like the smallest project out there, but it's not necessarily the biggest, and it hasn't really had that mainstream attention in my perspective. Like, kind of in a vacuum, we've seen some attention for the internet computer because of caffeine AI and all this type of stuff. But in terms of like in the grand scheme of things, if I just came up to my friend who doesn't know anything about this space and I said, "Oh, what's the internet computer?" They're gonna be like, "Okay, what is that?" You know what I mean? So when it comes to this case, in my perspective, it's something I just don't want to give up on because I haven't seen maybe what it could hypothetically do in terms of the attention and all this type of stuff. If let's say there was an altcoin season. Now, when is there going to be a quote unquote altcoin season? I mean, I don't have the answers to that question. Like, I don't know when that's exactly going to happen. But there's only one thing I do know, and that is how I can control myself. And that's pretty much about it. So yeah, I mean, I'm just dollar cost averaging once a month. I haven't forgotten about ICP. I haven't forgotten about this whole space overall. I mean, I could easily just like exit though. I mean, I could easily just not care about ICP anymore and that's it. But I just haven't done that because I just don't have the mindset where I feel like the fundamentals are not good and all this. Like, for instance, what is a project that I've completely given up on? Pretty much for the time being. It's something called Cadena. Because again, I mean, the Cadena organization announced that they're going to be stopping operations basically. Yeah, I'm going to give up at that point. You know what I mean? Now, keep in mind, I'm no longer dollar cost averaging into Cadena. So yeah, that's the way to take a look at it. But as long as I haven't seen that to something like Dfinity or something like that, I just don't want to give up. That's my perspective. And also, I haven't seen kind of ICP, what it could do during an altcoin season, or should I say a true altcoin season, because historically, I just haven't really seen that sort of mainstream attention like ever when it comes to ICP. So yeah, I'm just gonna still wait, hold, and I'll just wait and see what happens. But in the meantime, I just wanted to make a video to kind of showcase why I like that aspect when it comes to the internet computer. Again, like I mentioned earlier on the video, those hypothetical programming languages and all this type of stuff. So yeah, all I can do as of right now is stay patient. Now, $100, by the way, when it comes to ICP, it is quite a ways away. I mean, as of right now, we're around 24 times lower than that when it comes to, again, where ICP is currently. But I'm saying, even at $100, the market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around 54 billion. Like, that's not a groundbreaking achievement by any means. Like, it's a big figure, but in the grand scheme of things, if let's say there was an altcoin season, that's not like such a outlandish thing. But even besides that, let's say it never even did that in a hypothetical. Like, even if let's say $50 was a scenario, we're still around over 10 times lower than that. So what is Bitcoin going to do in the next 6 months? What is Ethereum going to do? Is Ethereum going to hypothetically do this or do that? I mean, who knows? Because it is basically a very popular altcoin, but I'm saying, is Ethereum going to 10 grand over 10x? Absolutely not. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. However, I am still a fan when it comes to ICP. Sure, it's not doing the best as of right now, but if I'm trying to dollar cost average, isn't that kind of the point, right? I mean, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but personally for me, if I'm looking to dollar cost average, my kind of thing is to dollar cost average when things aren't necessarily doing the best, because why would that be my mentality? I mean, it'd be kind of a little bit counterintuitive if I'm only dollar cost averaging when there's a lot of attention, but then, you know, not really caring when there isn't. That's just my point of view. I don't want to wait for a certain moment because I don't want to miss out on the journey, but who knows? Only time will tell. I am not telling anyone to do anything, and nothing I say is financial advice, but I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a nice day. It's Molly the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one.